Okay, this is the introduction to Chapter 6. Again, we're still in Module 3. This chapter talks about things that we can do to strengthen our position. Competition is really tough, and a lot of companies are not going to survive the marketplace. So once we get our basic company up and running, we're always going to be looking for things that we can do to strengthen our competitive position. Chapter 6 talks about some of those things. It talks about going on the offense. In other words, kind of attacking competitors. Now, if we want to attack a competitor, we want to attack them at their weakness. We want to attack their weakness. You don't attack a competitor's strength. A legendary mistake was made by Kmart about 15, 20 years ago when they were being hurt by Walmart because of low cost advertising by Walmart. Kmart decided that they would guarantee a low cost and do Walmart matching. Kmart really wasn't set up to do this, and this was clearly the strength of Walmart, being able through superior supply chain management to deliver products on the shelves at the lowest cost. Kmart understood this from a marketing perspective, that they really needed to be able to come out and match Walmart. But behind the scenes, the company just wasn't really ready to do this. They didn't have the structure in place to cause them to do this. And by implementing their strategy, attacking Walmart's strength, they ended up losing a great deal of money, and ultimately the executive team got fired over this. So if we want to attack a competitor, we look for a weakness, not a strength. We also do defensive strategies. If we're trying to protect our markets or protect our customer base, there are things that we can do, large and small, that will help us do that to make sure we don't lose market share to a competitor or lose customers. Another thing that's really important with all of these is timing. When we do this is very important. So we need to have a plan ahead of time of things that we could potentially do. Events usually drive these decisions. Something that is done by a competitor, something that is done in the market, something that's done in the legislature can drive an opportunity for change. We need to have things ready to go. So timing is very important. The other thing we can do is look at our scope of operations. We can do vertical integration, forward or backward vertical integration, as you'll see in this chapter. We can do outsourcing. A lot of companies outsource. Think about the car that you drive. The car that you drive is largely assembled only by the maker of that car. Most of the products that are in your car are outsourced and made by other companies. There's many reasons for outsourcing, and as you'll see as you go through the chapter. Another way that we can do things, especially in foreign countries, as you'll see later when we talk about international markets, is through strategic alliances and partnerships. A lot of times if you want to go into a foreign country, you can't just show up, buy land, build a building, and hire people. It's a lot more complicated than that. In fact, you're just not allowed to do that. You might have a requirement to have partial ownership in that country. You have all kinds of barriers to just coming in and doing that. So a lot of times, instead of going in and doing this greenfield build-up, we do it through a strategic alliance or a partnership. Now, a lot of these strategic alliances and partnerships are temporary because both companies that are in them are looking for something out of this relationship. But if you want to go do business in India, the best way for you to do that might be through having a strategic alliance with a company that is already there. Once you're in there, you can learn that market and eventually build a place for yourself in that market. There's a lot of examples of strategic alliances. I'll just give you a real quick one at the end of this video. Years ago, Pepsi and Coca-Cola in the United States were looking at bottled water sales in Europe. At the time they were doing this, we were not really buying bottled water in the United States as we know it today. But the Europeans were selling a lot of bottled water. Pepsi and Cola wondered, because they're really not in the Pepsi and Coke business, they're really in the beverage business. If you look at around the range of Pepsi and Coca-Cola products, they're everything from water to juices to any kind of thing you want to drink. They don't care what it is that you want to drink. If it's non-alcoholic, they just want to be the company to sell it to you. They did strategic alliances with and partnered with a lot of the European bottled water companies and brought that product to the United States to see if it would sell in their supply chain. Now, Pepsi and Coke had no intention of buying these products from these companies like Nestle long term. They just wanted to see if these products would work in our markets in the United States. Indeed, they did. They sold very well. So much so that eventually Pepsi and Coke broke this strategic alliance and developed their own products that we know today as Aquafina and Dasani. These are kind of European sounding names, and they are their own bottled water products. So this is an example of a company entering a strategic alliance just to build a market. This was the safest way for them to test this market. It reduced their investment. All they had to do was do a legal agreement with Nestle and some other bottled water makers, and they got their test a lot cheaper. Long term, they proved the product, and they developed their own market and their own products for that market. So enjoy chapter 6. It's very interesting. Lots of good stuff in here.